Yeah, it's you know, so we got some pretty good competition here in the semifinals. So with that said, we're already getting into game one. Let's go ahead and head on in.
Nice. And so getting into, again, game one, Nesh and SonikHolik. Nesh opening up with Zoe Lee Sin, SonikHolik on TLC. How do you feel about this matchup, JDoza?
Oh man, so this is interesting. I think this is gonna sound really, really obvious, but I think it's true. I think as long as the Lee Sin player draws Lee Sin, they win. But which is like every other matchup, you could say that too, right? But because the thing is, like, if they draw Lee Sin, they're I think usually in a pretty good spot, especially with Zenith Blade now, to put together the OTK prior to turn 8 and 9 when SonikHolik is going to want to put together their OTK. If they don't draw the Lee Sin, then SonikHolik, basically it's up to Sonic to have to draw the TLC Matron combo if that's the case. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and give the advantage to Nesh just seeing this Lee Sin in hand.
It is a surprisingly nuanced matchup. Typically it's like, oh, combo V control, we know, we just look into the records and we know how it's going to play out.
Yep.
But the ability for TLC to combo you in return, you have a much shorter window. Typically, like, even if you don't draw your Lee Sin against a deck like another control deck, you potentially have a lot of time to just kind of stall out and relax and just wait to get all of your pieces in hand. But that window is significantly shorter when the threat of your deck blowing up might happen. There are some techs to be had with Homecoming to send the Watcher back to the hand, but it just gets replayed for 0. Or again, just like a stun. That's the thing, right?
Yep.
The stuns are a little bit more impactful in this matchup rather than we saw yesterday with a ton of silences coming through.
Well, and all right, so here's another interesting point too. So Lysandra, Entomb, right? And that's where my mind kind of heads with that too, is that Entomb counteracts Lee Sin if it does come down to that point, especially if we're buffing up Lee Sin to try to get to that OTK with something like a Sonic Wave or something like that. And we only, I will say, and not to mention Frostbite, right? Like Flash Freeze. There is one copy of Flash Freeze in Nesh's deck, and only one copy of Three Sisters, which usually I'm used to seeing more Three Sisters in here, and that might play against Nesh, considering this is Lee Sin we're going up against.
Yeah, I think maybe Nesh was just thinking, okay, well, I think that this is going to be enough. And we talked a little bit about Three Sisters yesterday, where if you want to run Three Sisters, 90% of the time you kind of want the Flash Freeze. The Entomb has been, way more impactful, being able to generate it out of thin air like that, not needing to main deck it. And maybe Nesh was just like, okay, well, I could just ban whatever I don't like. And so now, feeling confident, apparently, that the Zoe Lee Sin isn't going to be a big threat against this Matron deck.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I mean, both players kind of just doing the stare down thing right now. It's not. We didn't get any Eye of the Dragons early on here for Sonic. Not that we'd really need it. Obviously, TLC not really going to be that aggressive of a deck. We do have a Mountain Goat off the top. And for those of you curious, one of the reasons why we did not see Lee Sin come down there, anybody who might be new to the game, one of the common things is you don't want to play Lee Sin on turn 5. You want to actually wait till turn 6 so that you have something like what we see in hand there, Bastion available, or in some cases, Deny, to actually protect that Lee Sin. Against this deck, it might even be a little bit risky putting it down now, just because you do only have that one spell you can play after the fact to counteract something that Nesh has. I think it'd be okay, though, right? Because Nesh probably has, like, a Vengeance, but they're not going to have anything to follow up with 2 mana after the fact to deal with Lee Sin, right?
Yeah, you'd have to go for specifically Vile Feast Vengeance against the Bastion.
Yeah.
So SonikHolik is taking the risk here.
Yeah, there's 2 Vile Feast and there is 1 Vengeance, so I think that's a pretty calculated risk in my opinion. It's 3 very specific cards that Nesh would have to have, and it looks like he got rewarded for it. We're not going to see that pop off this turn.
Yeah, so getting the Lee Sin down. Now, with no threat of Vengeance, you can go ahead and get the Zenith Blade also set up onto the Lee Sin.
Oh, yeah, it feels so good. Feels so good. Which you might as well... Do we do that now? Just not getting the Daybreak effect?
Yeah. This is you just go all in on Lee Sin. There's 2 Zenith Blades already in hand, so thinning your deck out for the 3rd one doesn't really matter too much, I think. If you don't cast the Zenith Blade this round, maybe it's purely for the sake of I don't want to take 4 damage from Trundle, and I want a concussive palm, but I think that you could just absorb that damage and just, as you talked about, accelerate the clock. We saw yesterday where with the right combination of cards, you know, this Spectral Matron combo will slap you on round 8, round 9 immediately. And now with the Ice Pillar ready to go, we know that there is no Vengeance, Vile Feast potentially in the hand, higher chances of the cards in hand being Fading Memories, Spectral Matron to make this combo pop off. Furthermore, Nesh is rewarded with having attack tokens on the even turn here.
Yeah, and I think, so we were talking about this when the tournament first started, where I think we had both thought we were going to see a lot of Lee Sin, right? By the way, Ruination just burned there. Nesh's hand too big. I don't know if anybody caught that, but so anyways, I think this was one of the reasons why we were kind of thinking that, is we knew there's going to be a lot of TLC, and I do think Lee Sin typically has an okay matchup into TLC, again, assuming that the Lee Sin actually gets drawn. But we didn't really see a lot day 1. We're finally starting to see Lee Sin pop off a little bit here in day 2 in the top 8. So, and actually, I actually want to refer back to that post too. There's only 2 Lee Sin decks in top 8, FYI. 2 Aesol Demacia, 2 Discard, 3 Spider Aggro, 4 Nasus, 4 Lissandra, like we went over earlier. So just some interesting info there for you guys.
And again, Lee Sin has a history of, you know, being a very fickle deck.
Yeah.
You have it for very clutch matchups, but if you don't draw Lee Sin, it just feels terrible. Sometimes you get the Lee Sin, but you whiff on your early game, and you kind of get beat up anyway. And against decks that have a lot of ways to stop your combo, it feels like such a terrible deck to bring. And so while you not only need to meet the requirement of being a player who's experienced with the deck and skilled with it, you also have to like meet that requirement of being a player that wants to take that sort of risk when completing your lineup for a tournament.
Yeah, and we can even see here, I mean, I you know what, honestly, I love that word you use, fickle, because it's 100% right, I feel, with this deck. You can even see now Sonic having a hard time kind of figuring out what to do next, because there is no OTK available right now. Like, even if we used like everything in our hand, we're still not going to get up to actually Sonic Wave. Maybe we could 1, 2, 3, 4. We could get up to like 9, I think, with the amount of mana that we have right now. So that's not OTK range. But more importantly, we still have to worry about things like Vengeance and Vile Feast, like you mentioned before. Just because we avoided it on the turn Lee Sin came down doesn't mean that we don't have to worry about it anymore. And we can't just go in willy-nilly. So we do have the ability to try to pressure Nesh and take down something like this Trundle, but it's just really risky every single thing you do, and you don't want to make the wrong move that ends up leading to your Lee Sin being taken off the board.
Yeah, there's Vile Feast, Flash Freeze, maybe even Vile, something really off the wall like Vile Feast and Tomb. And
wow,
where you just put the Lee Sin in an iceberg, and depending on what you're going to be developing next round, like Matron into Matron, then you're just swinging for lethal.
Yeah, we're doing another Zenith Blade, which, I mean, I don't want to say this is risky per se, but there is just the consideration that if for whatever reason this game goes a little bit longer because maybe this Lee Sin gets off the board, Nesh doesn't assemble the combo for a little while, you know, if we draw another Lee Sin, that's less chances we have of actually being able to put Overwhelm on Lee Sin. And there's only 2 Lee Sins left in the deck, too, and only 1 Zenith Blade now. But I do like the decision because I think Sonic realizing, okay, if I don't actually end the game by like turn 8 or 9, I just, my percentage chance of winning this game gets lower and lower and lower the later this game goes, right? So I do love this Zenith Blade, just again trying to force something out of Nesh, putting it even further out of range. And okay, we have to Bastion, and we have to pray now that there is no Vile Feast in the hand of Nesh. Do you got it, Nesh? Or Flash Freeze even.
Maybe even Ice Shard.
Oh. There it is.
That is the heartbreak. Vengeance does connect with the Lee Sin. SonikHolik trying to stack up that win condition, and it is denied at the 11th hour. Nesh now, round 8. What have you got for us?
Yeah, I gotta say, I think that might be all she wrote, to be honest. Like, now it's going to be really hard for Sonic to really do just about anything. I mean, we have these deep meds to rifle through our deck a little bit, draw some other cards, but it's just going to be an uphill battle from here. Deny, unfortunately, does not deny Watcher. This isn't Magic the Gathering. We can't counter followers hitting the spiel. Unfortunately, right, in this case. But yeah, this is... oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, and SonikHolik even not even trying to play the Mountain Goat here, keeping Concussive Palm open against potentially just the full combo popping off here. No Lissandra being played yet.
Oh, man. I mean, usually... especially in this matchup with something like Lee Sin. I mean, you're always playing Lissandra after she's leveled, right? So she might come. We might see her actually come down now, or she could come down on turn 9 on the off attack token for Nesh. That way we go into maybe like an open attack. It all depends on how Nesh wants to kind of set up this Watcher win con here.
And a lot of board space to work with. You know, no Thrall gumming up the board, and you know. Second Fading Memories onto the pillar, and then Matron onto the pillar. Maybe make something happen there, because all of these being duplicated is just going to further boost Trundle as well. Sure, you're saving the Concussive Palm for the Trundle, for the Watcher rather, but Trundle is still going to give you a pretty heavy hit.
Yeah, and it would have been and now seeing that deny too, it's like, you know, you could make the argument of, you know, do you really risk throwing that Lee Sin down early? Like, do you have to always have 2 answers up, like a Bastion and a Deny the turn after, you know, following the Lee Sin hitting the field? I think that answer might be yes, just with how many responses TLC does have to actually getting Lee Sin down, like we just saw there with the Ice Shard and the Vengeance. But
it's definitely interesting how difficult it can be at times to get the matchup experience you want. A deck theoretically wins on paper, but when you're trying to ladder, you're running into a wide variety of stuff. And so to prevent just straight up losing, you're just kind of teching your deck for the matchups that you aren't necessarily trying to target. And that's where, you know, a lot of the players in the competitive scene are like scrimming with one another to get the specific matchups they want. And just getting that experience.
Yeah, and that is the Lissandra coming down like you had mentioned too. So now it's not even the Watcher win con, Scarzig. This is just, you know, Sonic might just lose to just getting beat down. There is a Hush, but we've seen it in the past. I mean, we've seen it with so many Targon decks. What does silencing the Watcher really do at the end of the day, Scarzig? It does a whole lot of nothing, right?
Yeah, it buys you a couple more rounds.
Oh, man.
Maybe. Because they still attack you with it. Like, you have to have a wide board. It keeps your deck from exploding, but not your Nexus.
Oh, man, this feels so bad for Sonic. You know, it's just... And it feels so, like, backbreaking once you saw, you know, that turn where Lee Sin was removed off the field. You got to be wondering, like, is Sonic thinking, like, that's probably game over? Is that GG right now? Obviously, we saw the Shen emote come out from him. So, you know, what is Sonic, do we think, thinking is gonna win the game now? Like, let's say we draw another Lee Sin and a Zenith Blade somehow, like back-to-back draws. Are we in a spot where we can win?
With Hush on Trundle, no, not really. Because there's not enough blockers in play. You've got Lissandra to just start chipping away at the Nexus as well. This is one of the things about Lissandra that in situations like this, she's just slowly burning you out, ending the game. Yeah. Is just not completely, but mostly overlooked when you evaluate this champion. Everybody's gone all in on the Watcher win condition, the Spectral Matron combo, but, you know, level up Lissandra, play defense, have a tough Nexus, and then your opponent just can't keep things in play.
Well, yeah, and actually we got some educated chatters here with us today, as Somnus there mentioning Ravine. I agree with you there, Scarzig, because I feel like there's a lot of games actually where, yes, you have to worry about the Matron combo, but there's a lot of times where people get down this low because of just like 1 or 2 Trundle hits, and then, you know, this deck has that reach, oddly enough, with Blighted Ravines and Ice Shards just doing damage to the face. And I've actually seen quite a few games end with Blighted Ravine. Like, that's actually a serious consideration to just lose the game.
Having that Nexus damage, It's like thematic, I suppose, for Blighted Ravine to do that because it's like this wild,
The whole thing, yeah.
dark ice magic that just hits everything. Avalanche used to do the same thing if you go far enough back in time.
Rip.
And but now there's more reason for Blighted Ravine to do it because of like maybe plunder synergy or synergies with Swain. But yeah, everything is just in Nesh's favor here, and we've got the open attack, or just put Ice Shard on the stack.
Yeah.
And there's Lee Sin showing up at the last second to bear witness to this crushing defeat.
The Blind Monk just a little too late to the party there, Scarzig, and that is going to mean SonikHolik getting taken down there by Nesh to go up 1-0, and I'm curious to see, okay, we are going to get the run back of Lee Sin. Let's see what was left unbanned on the side of SonikHolik. We do have either this Zoe Aurelian Soul deck that we've been seeing, or we have Ness. Or wow, just one time, Scarzig, I want to say this name of this deck without messing it up or stuttering. Nasus Thresh on the side of Nesh. Jesus. Oh my god. What is this today?
You can't get around that. You just gotta flub it. You gotta own it. You were doing good up to that point, though. You hit it yesterday.
Yeah, that one time, yeah. But I do think so. This matchup, Lee Sin versus Nasus Thresh, we actually haven't seen a whole lot today because, again, we haven't seen a whole lot of Lee Sin up until now. And I gotta go with my gut here. I mean, I feel like Lee Sin does have a lot of tools, especially drawing an Eye of the Dragon this early to stave off some of the, the shenanigans with Faded Icon and Blighted Caretaker and Curse Keeper, Abomination, all that stuff, to really prevent that early game win condition. And if that's the case, if we do make it to the late game with the Atrocities, I mean, you have the denies. I feel like you have a good amount of responses to avoid the Nasus even leveling up, right, with Concussive Palms. So
yeah,
I think Lee Sin generally is gonna be favored in this matchup.
This is one of the few decks in the game right now, in the metagame, that has the tools to properly deal with this deck in all of its facets, right? Dealing with the aggressive early game, dealing with the atrocity in the late game, just dealing with the big body of Nasus in general. And, there's going to be worlds where Lee Sin maybe kicks a Thresh back into Nesh's hand, or even a Nasus to offset that mana. And in terms of chip damage, I don't think that's going to be ever happening. It's going to need to probably be a full Lee Sin OTK, especially depending on what Nesh does pull in these early sequences.
Yeah, and already getting the Eye of the Dragon down too is going to be a little bit of a problem for Nesh here. I mean, we don't really have the greatest spells to go ahead and activate the Eye of the Dragon just yet. I mean, obviously we can afford to take a little bit of damage early in the game here, but we got two Mountain Goats that are rearing up and ready to go to start giving us some sweet gem action. Oh, and not to mention this Mentor of the Stones here also going to give us a lot of gems. So I do feel like we're going to be seeing this Dragonling train getting rolling here in just a bit.
This is a pretty tough decision. SonikHolik thinking about, okay, I can Pale Cascade, trade into the Fading Icon, but then the Eye of the Dragon is weak to Vile Feast. And you aren't even proccing a Dragonling by just casting one spell. And another decision to be made. Zoe Goat or Mentor of the Stones and try to buff up this Eye of the Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Zoe Go is we're in the same boat where we're not actually going to be getting a Dragonling if that's the case. Because we'd have one gem at that point, but we needed two spells. If we go for the Mentor, technically we could use both gems. But again, I think it's so early in the game, I don't know if Sonic is really worried about their life total just yet. If we do start to see a Blighted Caretaker, that might be an issue next turn.
Yeah, exactly. Blighted Caretaker is really devastating against the Zoe Mountain Goat development here. Yeah. Mentor of the Stones is probably the best bet because Nesh might even let the Mentor live to prevent the gems.
Yeah, and okay, I do like this. There is going to be a super cool star chart too, so I think what Sonic is going to start to set up here is going into Sonic's next attack turn is when we're going to start the Dragonlings. And regardless of how much damage we end up taking on Nesh's attack turn here, once we go over to round 4, I think we're going to be okay. Like, yeah, see it. So it's looking like Nesh is also setting up for a pretty big attack turn coming up. But we'll have a goat here to at least block one thing. We could, block another thing with theoretically Pale Cascade onto the Eye of the Dragon if we really needed to. But I do like Sonic's position here, and this actually might even be... Are we potentially going for 2 spells? Like maybe if we play the super cool...
Yeah, I was definitely expecting perhaps Pale Cascade on Zoe there to push through an extra point, and then super cool star charts, that would be 2 spells for the Dragonling, but...
Okay, all right.
Just...
Yeah,
ends up in a roundabout way going for the Zoe goat development here.
Yeah, and I guess that makes sense because you don't want to attack with the goat and just have it trade with the fading icon, right?
And there it is, the Blighted Caretaker. So it potentially gets answered by super cool star chart into a Crescent Strike.
That would be perfect. That would be the absolute perfect. And missing it there for Sonic. That's gonna feel really bad.
Glow does protect the Zoe, however, from the sapling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of those is probably going to be picking off this mountain goat, right? So you just gotta be okay with that and take the gem and go on your merry way.
You have to be so worried too about Black Spear from this position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. Black Spear, it's so funny. I still am getting used to like seeing that card get played, I guess. There's not a lot of decks that play it. This is really one of the only decks that does, and that is something that you are going to have to be very, very concerned about. Now, no units have died yet, so we can't get it in response to this Moonglow, so that is going to feel pretty good for Sonic. But, yeah, that could be a pretty big impact card coming up here.
Yeah, so no Black Spear in hand. The proc from Blighted Caretaker would activate. And look, all of just setting up the trades here for the Eye of the Dragon as well. You're going to have to take this hit. And SonikHolik, again, maybe a little punished for not going for the super cool star chart Pale Cascade last round in order to get that extra Dragonling to potentially block the Blighted Caretaker. Navigating the early game, despite drawing all these great early game cards in Lee Sin, is still pretty difficult when you've got the Blighted Caretaker like this with the Cursed Keeper. And so just using the Pale Cascade to protect the Mountain Goat, Zoe is also going to survive. And as you talked about, this is where the Dragonling train needs to come up and it needs to work. At the very least, the spell requirement has been met.
Yeah, and this is going to be...
And a glimpse now coming down.
A lot of damage push now, too, for Nesh on a Sonic. But, again, this Eye of the Dragon, it's hanging out. It's chilling. And this is going to be, I think, the difference maker in this matchup. Like I said, we're going into Sonic's round 5 now, the attack token. We're finally going to start generating these Dragonlings, and they do absolute work versus this deck. And there's the Lee Sin off the top. That Lee Sin is going to finally start to allow Sonic to start looking to close out the game as well.
And so we've got potentially Sonic Wave Resonating Strike to even boost up the Dragonling, so that it can lifesteal for more and also pull a key target. We've seen time and time again where these Nasus Thresh decks they get the early Smork, they don't block because they know that they just need to maintain their board for the sake of sacrificing for Spirit Legion, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And with being at 10 HP is actually pretty frightening. Because once that early work and that early pressure has been established, you don't need a giant Nasus to kill you with Atrocity. Just damage around the sides with Thresh, or even, Atrocity onto a 4/3 is enough. I think we saw that yesterday where it was Atrocity on something with 2 attack or 3 attack to finish off the Nexus.
Yeah, we'll see what Sonic decides to do here next. I mean, we always are going to be going with the Dragonling at the very least. Probably Zoe as well, no reason not to. And wow, okay, so it's looking like Sonic actually going to try to go all in and get as much lifesteal as possible here on the Dragonling. And I don't hate this. Actually trying to think. Nothing died yet, so Black Spear isn't going to be a concern. Is there Vile Feast or Unspeakable Horror in Nesh's deck?
Vile Feast, I think, is sometimes a 2 of. in these lists. We could have maybe gotten another glimpse off the top to sidestep this lifesteal, which would be really sad. No Nopify to
There's 3. Okay, 3 vials.
get around those sorts of cards. But SonikHolik, again, just trying to go in with the Dragon Link.
Okay,
and
no vial.
It's accepted.
Wow. Okay. That's a really big swing, I think, for Sonic. You know, being able to get that through, not having the Vial Feast on the side of Nesh, which, I mean, maybe just a really good read there by Sonic. I mean, putting him back up to 14, that is, that's definitely going to put us in a much better spot to continue to live for a few more turns to get this Lee Sin online. And if the Lee Sin does come online before something like the Nasus hits the board, then Lee Sin's going to start to be able to pick apart all of these smaller, dinky little units here on the side of Nesh, just eating them all up with that Challenger and Barrier.
At this point in the game, you know, you need Blighted Caretaker or Thresh to answer the Zoe as well. She's been surviving this whole time, and there is consideration for, you know, her to level up, and then you have AoE lifesteal just protecting your board, and this is probably the best time for Thresh to come down. You're losing out on a lot of value with all the units that have already died in that previous exchange. But with Spirit Leech or Blighted Caretaker next round, we could see Thresh get a huge number of souls all at once. Star Chart now being cashed in and getting a Moonsilver.
Yeah, Moonsilver is so interesting to me as one of the Celestial cards, right? Like, I feel like it's never like an obvious choice as to pick that card, but obviously, you know, in a deck like this, when you have Deep Meds, when you have Eye of the Dragon, you know, it is going to provide a lot more utility than most other decks, but it's something to take into consideration because a lot of cards, like let's take Atrocity as an example, right? When people play Atrocity or play against Atrocity, they're playing around a 6 mana card. That's a very important number that you're always looking for in your opponent's mana. If there's a Moonsilver that's been played, you now constantly have to be playing around 5 mana, because if you're not, you're going to get really surprised at one turn, just losing the game due to a 5 mana Atrocity. So that's what Moonsilver can do. Another example with this deck, maybe we get Lee Sin down, we Moonsilver on a deny, we only have 3 mana up. Nesh feels like we can go for the kill, and now we deny with 3 mana. That's a pretty big play.
Having 3 mana deny, not only to take your opponent by surprise, but also to open up more mana for you to play out your cards, right? When you're against a deck like this, against Atrocity, when you get into the later stages of the game, you don't have as much mana as you'd like to work with. But Kai, Sand Spinner, targeting the Eye of the Dragon, gonna take this one down now. And this is interesting. You get the nice 2-for-1. Thresh still gets to challenge something, and then Bakai getting to take down the Eye of the Dragon. Gonna stop this lifesteal train. Despite everything, Nesh is perhaps still in a good position from here. Just needs Nasus, I think, to come down before this Lee Sin really gets set up.
Yeah, but Lee Sin getting set up is looking like a foregone conclusion, though, Scarzig. This is looking like slowly but surely Sonic's going to be able to close out the game with a Lee Sin OTK. You know, Thresh hitting the board feels okay for Nesh. You know, maybe we're able to pick off the Eye of the Dragon here. It doesn't look like there's really too much of a response from Sonic. We could get a Zenith Blade onto the Eye of the Dragon if we're really, you know, that invested in saving this card. I don't know if that's the route that Sonic's going to want to take here, but that's really the only way we're going to save it, unless Deep Med. We could Deep Med into a Concussive Palm and then Moonsilver the Concussive Palm. That seems like a lot of work just to save the Eye of the Dragon.
So yeah, look, just goes for the gem on the Eye of the Dragon. Get some draw. I like this. It's just using the Dragon Link to offset some of this incoming damage. With only 2 mana, you don't have to worry about Blighted Caretaker anymore. And despite the board being wiped out here for SonikHolik, the rest of the hand is basically the entire suite of cards you need to support your Lee Sin.
Yeah, this is Bastion. You got it all, baby.
It's the greatest hits edition.
Oh, I like that.
In the hand right now.
I like that. Yeah, this is the hand. This is exactly what you want. Even the Moonsilver, man. Like that is like, you don't usually see Moonsilver on top of that, but you got all the answers, baby. Which is why I think we're not too concerned about losing Eye of the Dragon here. It doesn't feel like it's going to be that big of a deal to actually lose this card. Were we just... All right, I was going to say, we're not targeting the Mountain Goat with the with the Moon Silver, right? That feels unnecessary there. I wish you could, on a side note, this is a really random thought. I really wish you could hover a burst speed spell, but you can't. Like, it doesn't actually show to your opponent that you're hovering it because of the way burst speed. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, because of the way they interact.
Yeah, exactly. But oh my goodness, look at this. The Moon Silver and the Guiding Touch leveling up Zoe to survive the Thresh.
Oh, that is backbreaking for Nesh, man. That is... Man, we were all worried about Lee Sin coming down. Now you're going to get all of the keywords in the world, man. This is really good for Sonic. And like we mentioned before, I mean, it feels like this deck, Lee Sin has so many answers for this Thresh Nasus deck. It just counters so many things that it's trying to do. And that's a perfect example there. I mean, we couldn't even kill a Zoe with a Thresh. And 9 times out of 10, that feels like Thresh is usually going to win. And we were still able to somehow save her. I didn't even realize Zoe was that far towards leveling. That came out of absolutely nowhere, Scarzig.
I knew it was coming, but I definitely didn't realize she was that close either. And so now Lee Sin was actually the target for the Moon Silver in the last round. Going to come down just for 4 mana.
Yeah. Now, there's no protection, though, now that we're playing it on the 4 mana.
Yeah, he is leveled, so you can go for Spell Thief here just to get Challenger. You're just going to Dragon Kick your target, which should be fine. Or you just go for Zenith Blade. And then it's not an OTK, but you're still getting some damage through. You're getting this Thresh out of the way. Zoe is going to be generating a 0 mana Behold the Infinite after striking the Nexus.
There is a world where, because it doesn't look like we're never going to get barrier, right? So if for some reason Nesh is able to lose a unit or slay a unit on their own side of the field, like we're going to lose this Thresh, it looks like, double Black Spear could be a thing and kill this Lee Sin.
Double Black Spear. We haven't seen a single copy cast yet. We've been speculating about it this whole time, and there's been a lot of very good opportunities for Black Spear to clean up the board. You know, answering that Eye of the Dragon a bit earlier, maybe even cleaning up that Zoe. So I think Nesh is actually coming up empty. SonikHolik even checking the history, saying, you know, there's been so many opportunities where I've been quaking in fear of the Black Spear, and it hasn't come down yet. I don't think it's going to be a possibility, but Spirit Leech offering 2 more chances. Double Black Spear top deck. Is it possible?
What I will say is, thanks to Spirit Leech being played, there was another possibility of a Black Spear and 2 Vile Feast. I don't think we've seen more than 1 Vile Feast so far this game. So that would have been a possibility. Now we're at 6 mana. It's impossible for that to happen. If we play a Mountain Goat, we represent no barrier.
You spell shield. Yeah, exactly. You spell thief. Actually, no, you get the 0 mana Glimpse Beyond.
Oh, never mind.
I was going to say,
we have it.
You can play. I thought that there was going to be a weird world where you have to glimpse your Zoe.
Yeah, yep.
But now you've got the 0 mana burst spell. Whew.
Okay, yep. That is going to provide the barrier. Okay, so the dream is not going to happen here for Nesh, unfortunately, but... and I don't think after this turn now as well, I don't think there's ever going to be another window where, I mean, now we just have everything, right? I mean,
yeah, you have Lee Sin in play with Bastion.
Wow. And
but
now. That's great.
We still need you know, you can get Nasus to come down with Blighted Caretaker or something, and if you pull the Lee Sin and the Goat aside, maybe the big fearsome just smorks. There's still a wide board in front of us here, though, on Nesh's side. Tons of cards drawn. A Glimpse Beyond was cast away earlier, of course. Double Spirit Leech now. A lot of options being offered here, potentially.
I think from the way this is playing out, though, I mean, this has got to be Sonic setting up next attack turn for Lipo, right?
Yeah, I mean, here it is. Behold Infinite into the Trickster to grant AoE elusive.
Yeah, who needs Dragon's Rage when you have a leveled Zoe? Okay, let's be honest here. This is that's the backup win condition right now. So
goes for the Crescent Strike instead. The technically,
Jeez.
elusively Sin does less damage.
Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, we want him to get blocked at this point or to challenge something. So, oh man, Crescent Strike. I mean, Crescent Strike really is just if Sonic is worried about something crazy popping off with Nesh's turn. Like a Blighted Caretaker doesn't do anything here because we actually, well, it does, but we can't summon all of the saplings currently. Only one would pop out. I'm trying to think of anything else Nesh might have, and there's really not a lot. I mean, but another Bakai Sand Spinner, that, I mean, I could give Vulnerable to Lee Sin, but again, I don't think that's going to do a whole lot because we will still be able to give him Barrier now this turn. I'm trying to think. Atrocity, same deal. Yeah, this is just looking rough for Nesh. I mean, I'm really trying to dig for some outs here, and I'm just not seeing a way that Nesh is able to take home this game now.
Yeah, especially now with the Crescent Strike, because if you don't stun here, if you were to pass back without Concussive Palm or something of the like, you're still going to be taking like 8 damage around the sides.
Yeah, and that matters because then, let's see, that's going to put Sonic at 6. That is a much more doable atrocity range than currently 14, right? So that is actually a concern. And that's something that we definitely don't want to risk happening right now. We could get another unit played from Nesh, but I think we're going to be in a solid spot after that Crescent Strike.
Yeah, like when you think about Nesh's hand, to have so many cards and seeming to be struggling to make plays from this position, I'm thinking there might be another Thresh that's a bit too expensive of a commitment. Maybe there is a Vile Feast that just you don't have good targets for anymore thanks to the Spell Shield, the threat of Spell Shield, the threat of Nopify. Probably a couple Ravenous Butchers in the hand that are just really bricking right now. This late into the game, when you draw Bakai Reaper, it feels terrible because it takes so long to get stacked up and become a threat.
Yeah, these blocks feel pretty good for Sonic, too. Everything's going to trade off. We're going to save the Lee Sin still. Okay, this is going to possibly deal damage to Lee Sin after the barrier, which definitely feels good. Now I'm feeling like this might set up something like a Black Spear. The problem is we still do have Bastion to kind of fall back on here, as well as a Deny. So I don't imagine, I mean, we could play Zoe if we wanted to, but I don't imagine Sonic goes and plays anything crazy here or goes below this 4 mana.
Yeah, they're potentially, yeah, Vile Feast now being cashed in there. A lot of cards being drawn. You could go for the Black Spear, just try to bait out the Deny. At the very least, SonikHolik going into the next round with less mana available. By forcing the Deny, you make it so that SonikHolik maybe doesn't set up the Zenith Blade this round.
I like that. I like that gem. You still hold the 4 mana. You also make it that much harder to actually kill the Lee Sin if you did have any Vile Feast shenanigans. I don't think the 1 health actually matters in the grand scheme of things, but at the very least, it soft passes back to Nesh. So now Sonic is going to be able to be the one to kind of choose, okay, what's going to happen with this turn here. And I don't, if you're Nesh and you have a Black Spear, you have to go for it here, right? Like you don't not play it. You have to get something out and then hope maybe next turn, now that the Deny or Bastion's used, you have, yeah, there it is, finally. All right, we got it. And then there's the Deny, and now with 2 mana, there's nothing that Nesh could actually play here to get rid of this Lee Sin. And I do think this is going to be Sonic setting up the OTK next turn. Got 2 Zenith Blades. I didn't realize those 2 Zenith Blades were so
oh, man. Let's be onto the Lee Sin. That was close. But anyway, Zenith Blade, yeah, coming through. And you still got Bastion against another Black Spear to maybe try to stifle that with Vile Feast. And so the overwhelm on the Lee Sin now, that's going to be 12 damage. What do you draw through here? Spirit Leech for 2 more draws. So many cards have been drawn by Nesh, but the right tools just not being found at all.
Yeah, this is just but listen, we talked about this at the beginning of the game, Scarzig. There's, even if Nesh had the tools, it really feels like Sonic then has all of the counter tools to the tools. And like I feel like everything that Nesh tried throwing down is usually going to have some sort of response to Sonic. Even if we somehow got, a Nasus down, generally speaking, we'll have something like a concussive palm to even prevent the level up, to stall for like another couple of turns, preventing that 10-10 Nasus from striking. I will say that's a great point in chat too from Somnes. Yes, there is a way for Nesh to go ahead and kind of delay this win con a little bit longer if we do go in, and that is with a Glimpse Beyond. So maybe, just maybe, we're considering possibly going with this elusive strategy now just to prevent that from being an option, but I don't think you need to. I mean, sure, Nesh prevents the combo from happening this turn, but like, what are you really doing? You're just giving yourself another attack turn to just have everything probably shut down from Sonic again, and then we just get to Sonic's next attack turn, and we recycle everything all over again. And there it is.
And the Glimpse actually was in hand, very likely at this point, of course. So many cards being drawn.
Yeah, now I guess... So we know Nesh was probably planning this, setting this up, right? Like, all right, let's save a Glimpse for when the OTK comes through. So now I'm very curious to see what is Nesh's last kind of give it all here. Like, what are we trying to set up on this last turn? Because Nesh has got to be thinking, all right, this is it. I think next turn I'm going for it.
Yeah, I know. The dream is I play Thresh right now, and then next round I play Nasus. Thresh pulls Lisa into the side, and Nasus gets to maybe swing through the Zoe for a lethal, and then you're still praying against no Hush, no concussive palm.
Wow, so you're
not to mention
thinking...
Behold Infinite. Exactly. Nasus is this Hush is just waiting and waiting and waiting for that key target.
Yeah, oh, there it is. There's step number 1 of your plan, Scarzig. So maybe that is you're a mind reader over here. You're knowing exactly what's going to happen with Nesh. We'll see if that is going to be the case here. You gotta, I mean, obviously at this point there is an Nasus in hand. Like, I mean, if there's not, that's really unlucky. But
yeah, to draw this many cards, to be this late into the game.
Yeah. And I gotta say too, like, Targon feels really good in this deck in general, because, I know we're saying like Hush, it's a great card all around. Like, it counters, I don't know, like everything at this point. Like, it just silences so many good cards. But Nasus feels like he's just so, like, he's a 2/2 when he gets hushed, man. Like, it's a 6-cost champion that basically turns into a nothing. Like, you're basically just killing it with the Hush alone. 9 times out of 10, whatever's blocking it is even going to live through a 2/2. And it's just absolutely backbreaking if it does actually come down to that Nasus getting Hush there.
You need, and the thing is that the Hush is going to prevent the level up, so it's even harder to get the spell shield. I know that there have been some variants of Nasus Thresh that have been teching in like Shroud of Darkness.
Oh god, yeah. Okay. I
in
like
order
that
to
card.
grant spell shield as he comes into play, but I mean, maybe this is what's going to happen. Especially, like, this is a nice preview of what we're maybe going to be seeing during the upcoming seasonal tournament, where it's going to be a lot of Zoe Lee Sin just trying to win through in this matchup. So the next piece is put into play.
Yeah, and I mean, Hush counters this just straight up right here. I mean, this Nasus, will actually... Is there a way that Nesh gets another Slay off? We must have, like, another Slay unit in hand.
Yeah, you can just pull Thresh. Thresh is going to pull Lee Sin, and then if SonikHolik doesn't block, then it's going to be lethal anyway.
Yeah, but this just shuts it
AoE
down
lifesteal.
anyway. Jesus.
Nasus has to grow 7 more times to make it a one-shot.
Oh, boy. All right, so there's the Slay I was looking for, which, okay, this is nice. This steals... So you have 3 challengers to basically still get a direct strike here with Nasus.
And Zenith Blade actually going to be put down.
Just in
still
case.
Keeps mana open.
Yeah.
For Hush, of course. This is just to protect the Zoe from the challenger. This is to get a little bit more lifesteal on top of everything. If this Thresh had come down a little bit earlier, managed to get some stacks, we could see the forbidden attack with 2 Nasus coming into play here.
Wait, this is the wrong order, right? This is shouldn't the lifesteal all be pulled to the other side?
Everything has lifesteal. It's just getting as much of the highest value lifesteal at the top, I think, is correct, because
there we go.
SonikHolik's going to be going up to like full HP anyway, right?
There we go. Okay, got it. Yeah. I mean, because like, because Zoe now is 3 attack, there is always going to be a fearsome blocker available. But I was just saying, like, I think the Nasus always should be going first here in almost every scenario, just because of, you know, it being a fearsome attacker. So, but yeah, either way, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's Sonic has the hush. It dies to a Zoe is killing a Nasus right now. Like that feels so
and
demeaning.
now you don't even need to block with the Mentor of the Stones, because the lifesteal at the bottom just completely offsets all that damage.
Yep.
We found it. We found the deck, everyone, that Nasus Thresh is supposed to live in fear of.
Yeah, it is Lee Sin. I mean, we talked about this at the beginning of the game. It's got all the answers in the world. It's got the Bastions. It's got the Concussive Palms. It's got the Denies. You know, it's able to shut down Nasus with something as small as a Hush, as we just saw. And at the end of the day, the Lee Sin OTK is going to take it home here. And that means that SonikHolik is tying it up 1-1. The previous Gems tournament winner, as we talked about earlier, going to be possibly making it to the finals here if we can take down Game 3 versus Nesh.
This has been, you know, a fantastic set. We're starting to see here in the top cut the importance of banning correctly, knowing your matchups, and just predicting, right? Saying, I'm going to bring Lee Sin. We talked about how, again, it's a deck that can sometimes really come up empty in the matchups we really need, but against this one, this Shurima Shadow Isles deck that has been wreaking havoc through the day 1 of the tournament and just through the ladder in general, having a deck in your arsenal that could beat this one so cleanly, it seems, is going to be very important, I think, for overall success.
So, actually, Flower in chat, that's a great question. So I'll go over the decks for everybody again as we gear up here for Game 3. I don't know if you guys caught, but Nesh taking a quick bathroom break, so we'll be getting into Game 3 here in just a second. But as far as the list for both players, so on the side of, let's see here, this is, all right, so on the side of SonikHolik, who we just saw play Lee Sin, we got Lee Sin, Renekton, Sejuani, Overwhelm, and Scouts. So I love this lineup. This is a very different lineup than a lot of what we saw in day 1 or even in the past week or so in tournaments that I've casted in leagues and stuff like that. And then on the side of Nesh, we have Matron combo, which we actually saw take game 1 there versus Sonic. We have the Nasus Thresh on the side of Net. I almost had it.
Yeah, it's impossible.
and then we had Zoe Aurelian Soul as the final deck there, which we've also seen a lot of. We've seen that deck quite a bit in day 1 and heading into the top cut here. I think we saw it in the quarterfinals as well. So I'm curious to see what wasn't banned on the side of Sonic, whether if it was the Scouts or the Overwhelm. You can actually see there, I don't know, because I'm sure my screen, so I think you can see 2 Scarzig. Under the Overwhelm deck, the Sonic named it Rico Rex Flex. So
yeah.
Rico Rex's Overwhelm knowledge just shining through here as like the one guy, the aficionado of Overwhelm, Rico Rex. So we'll see if that's what we end up getting here in Game 3. And it does look like, unfortunately, we won't. It's going to be Scouts. Let's go ahead and head back on into the gameplay.
That is a matchup we kind of speculated about yesterday, is Overwhelm into Nasus Thresh. But Scouts, there is a window there for this deck to really pop off. Again, a lot of small units potentially getting cleaned up efficiently with Misfortune's Love Tap and Ranger's Resolve, maybe allowing you to preserve your board against Blighted Caretaker. It's just that, you know, Cursed Keeper, Blighted Caretaker, not a lot of decks can deal with that. You have a 1-drop, you have a Sharp Sight for maybe a value trade, but without Bannerman, I think the stat deficiency is just really going to shine through heading into the mid game, because this deck does not have any way to stop Nasus and Atrocity.
No, it doesn't. I will say, you actually mentioned Misfortune's Love Tap. So right now, it's very important to note that Nesh does not have the attack token on turn 3. That is a very big deal. So that means that Sonic can throw down this Misfortune that we already see in hand on turn 3, attack with it, right? and clear the board if Nesh has any units there, which would prevent a turn 4 Blighted Caretaker depending on what's drawn. You know, if we could, I guess, theoretically draw like a Bakai Reaper and then sack it for that. But even more importantly, because Nesh will have to make a priority play before actually attacking with Blighted Caretaker on turn 4, we can play that Bannerman. We can actually play the Bannerman and protect Misfortune a little bit more. Now, Black Spear is a whole other story. If that comes out, it comes out. Something's dying. There's really no way, unless we also have the Sharp Sight, which we do see in hand as well, to possibly protect it after the fact, after the Bannerman. But I do like Sonic's chances so far, just based on the fact that Nesh does not have the attack token on turn 3. But we'll see how those next couple of turns play out.
The curve is great here from SonikHolik. Not a lot of flexibility in terms of you know, rallies or unit protection outside of the Sharp Sight, but you're basically, the numbers are all laid out in front of you, what you want to play, and a small micro decision being made there to actually hold the Fleet Feather Tracker against the Fading Icon. You get to play another unit here and give it Challenger and maybe get a better target to pull, right? You pull something with 1 HP with Misfortune in play, and then your Fleet Feather Tracker is just going to live regardless. So taking a little bit of damage on the potential of getting massive value from this Fleet Feather Tracker in return.
Yeah, this is already great. And if, you know, let's say Nesh passes, we attack, we pull the Fading Icon, we probably don't block with the Prey, which is actually very important for a Blighted Caretaker play on the next turn if that's the case. Something I actually didn't even take into consideration. But this could bait out a Black Spear this turn. And if that's the case, onto the Misfortune, we do have that Sharp Sight. And I feel like we might see it come out. Now, the problem with that is Vile Feast would stop it. And I don't know if Nesh would actually open up with a Vile Feast next turn, right? I feel like we might do the Blighted Caretaker. Unless Nesh is just really, okay, we're all in on getting rid of this Misfortune. But no, it's going to be the Curse Keeper instead, so no Black Spear. Wow, that was a snap attack. Holy crap.
Just exactly. We're just waiting. Everybody, just no matter what you play, Fading Icon actually also going to be put out here to chump block the Misfortune here. And by setting up the Curse Keeper like this, it means that Blighted Caretaker is going to be that much stronger on this follow-up turn. The only response that SonikHolik really has is maybe just to, you could play a Grizzled Ranger, I do like, to set up for a Bannerman, or you just Bannerman on top of this board. It's probably not worth. Fleet Feather Tracker kind of goes down regardless, unless you want to Sharp Sight and protect it.
Yeah, unfortunately, only going to go up to 2 health, so... All right, no Blighted.
Ooh, okay. Now we've got options. I was going to say Bannerman would potentially protect Misfortune from Black Spear. We've got Penitent Squire.
Wow. That's huge for Sonic. That is really big. And the fact that we actually have this Penitent... Oh, man, I was thinking I could hover. The fact that we have this Penitent Squire, and it's already online, because, you know, it's not often that I feel like this deck actually has an Elite in hand. It's just kind of thrown in there. Because it's a better Cythria, right? Technically.
Yeah.
Like, barely better, but it is. Because that's already active, like, I feel like that allows us to do so much, too, if we actually need that Challenger unit active. We have a lot of options. Grizzled Ranger feels really good for a Scout, and we could also block the Abomination if we really wanted to you know, just take less damage this turn. But honestly, with no Caretaker, I mean, Scarzig, do we think Sonic could actually just race Nesh here?
It is a possibility. You have to be careful though, because Scout decks need to keep their board alive to be effective. Whereas Nesh, you know, having a board is nice, but if I don't, I still have a lot of really big bodies and atrocity in the late game. So if SonikHolik, you know, is maybe getting a bit overconfident with the outcomes here and with this curve, starts to take a little bit more damage, you know, a big Nasus coming down or a Thresh or something to even out the board and survive, could definitely spell doom. So Grizzled Ranger, I do like the development here because you can block and you still maintain that body from the Badger Bear being generated.
Yeah, and only going in with the Spirit Leech, saying if you're gonna trade, it needs to be on the Spirit Leech, which is a little less valuable, obviously, than that Abomination. And I think because that's offered up for Nesh, I think Sonic possibly just takes this 4 damage.
That's the mind game. Nesh wants SonikHolik to take this 4 damage.
Yep, there you go. And whether or not that's better,
Scouts.
Yeah, that is a good point. No healing.
And just every little bit of damage coming through, And both of these decks are going to be trading so actively. By the time this Nasus comes down, it's going to be pretty big. And we haven't seen Blighted Caretaker yet, but a key Blighted Caretaker turn that gives you one slay on the target you choose, and then slays on Grizzled Ranger or Fleet Feather Tracker or some other unit that you choose.
Okay, so are we doing... I imagine it's Fleet Feather into Bannerman and not Pennant and Squire into Bannerman, maybe? Just because then you have 2 Challenger units online?
Yeah, it's tough. You could go for Penitent Squire here just to maybe save the banner for Cytherea the Bold, because she herself does not get fearsome, and maybe with the AoE fearsome and Cytherea being able to pull something specific, you can set up a really strong swing. We have to remember too that in SonikHolik's build, it was originally brought to target Freljord Shadow Isles, so it has a lot of rally in it. This is something at Nesh, it's going to be very difficult to develop safely, and even if you are trading your board away and, you know, surviving that damage, with another volley of attacks coming through is going to be pretty massive here. Misfortune, an omnipresent threat of leveling up from a position like this in the mid game with so much mana to work with.
Yeah, I mean, she'll almost certainly level up next turn. Does look like we're going to go with the Fleet Feather Tracker. So we don't have a rally this turn, which is probably something that Nesh is, you know, considering or worried about. I will say, if we go with the Bannerman, then that does, you know, show Nesh, okay, there is no Relentless Pursuit. So I think it might be smart for Nesh to pass back here. I think if we do get a pass, then we just get the Scout attack. I don't know, or maybe, I mean, maybe you just play the Bannerman and buff up the board first. That way you get the 4-2. I don't know if it being a 4-2
I
really
actually would like the Scout attack.
Yeah.
To attack with the Grizzled Ranger. It goes down anyway.
And then,
you get to land the buff on the Badger Bear.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, but it looks like Sonic actually thinking about... All right, we're going to buff the Scout first, I guess. I got to agree with you. After like working that out in my head, Scarzig, I don't... Like the Grizzled Ranger always dies here. Whereas the Badger Bear would then have 5 health, and it actually lives through everything in the attack. So, and like you just always block with, like now you just block with the Ravenous Butcher here, and it's basically killing nothing. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I would have liked to see that in the reverse there, and maybe Sonic just not thinking that through 100%. I can't think of another reason why you'd want the Grizzled Ranger buff, right?
It's a +1/+1. It's whatever. You depending, and especially with like the full commit with the Thresh like that, there, you know, you have more wiggle room to take a cheekier line like that. However, you see here we've got Sharp Sight for the boosted Fleet Feather Tracker, and then with the extra damage from Misfortune, this Thresh is gonna go down, and SonikHolik, by avoiding the Black Spear, avoiding the Blighted Caretaker, has managed to build up this incredibly gruesome mid-game board that is going to just wipe and get the full, like, just advantage here.
That's insane. This is, so, what is that, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage coming through. If I can do math again, that would be 2 times in a row that I get that right today. And that's going to be, I mean, that means Nesh is going to be dying on the next attack token, most certainly. And Sonic, I mean, if we top deck a Relentless Pursuit, we'll actually, I mean, we'll just be able to take this home on Nesh's next attack turn. So it's really going to depend on, you know, if we do top deck that Relentless Pursuit, or Golden Aegis. We are also playing Golden Aegis in this version. 2 Aegis, 3 Relentless Pursuit. This is nasty. Scout's coming back with a vengeance today, Scarzig.
They had to go back into the lab after the Grand Plaza nerf.
Yep.
There was like some Sony suppressor stuff, but just good old Bannerman.
Yep.
Mid-range, rallying, getting the bonus effect from Misfortune to manipulate the trades in your favor, even, you know, going further back to re-employ the Ranger's Resolve technology. It's all coming together.
Yeah, it took a little while, but they got there. It's you know what? You go back to good old reliable, right? Good old reliable Bannerman, like you mentioned. And now turn 6, Scarzig. I mean, you had mentioned the Penitent Squire. I mean, we didn't even end up using the Penitent Squire. We could just slam Cytherea here with really no repercussions. And then no matter what Nesh does, we just go in for lethal. I actually don't think there's any combination of cards that Nesh could have here to prevent lethal incoming next attack turn. Even if there were like a unit, like a Cursed Keeper plus Blighted Caretaker here, Caretaker only clears out the 1 Fleet Feather Tracker and leaves you with 2 units to Sonic's 4 at that point once Cytheria comes down. And, oh, this just did Misfortune levels on the next attack. So, yeah, it's looking pretty solid for Sonic right now.
Yeah, I'm still trying to rack my brain as well. You maybe have Fading Icon, Cursed Keeper, and then Ravenous Butcher to also pop those open to get some better blockers and attackers. But just with, you know, the Fleet Feather dragging a unit to the side and making your trades even worse is just so strong. Not to mention Cytheria just being played this round, even more damage coming through and fearsome. So any chump blockers like a Dune Keeper or Bakai Reaper that you would love to develop for cheap are going to become irrelevant.
Yeah, Dune Keeper, I don't think is looking too hot here for Nesh. And at the end of the day, we only need to deal 2 damage. If Misfortune survives here, which I think she always does because we have Ranger's Resolve as well, so like Black Spear won't be a thing. We just need to do 2 damage. We just need 1 unit to get through here. Now, Nesh does have some chump blockers here. Oh, wow, we're actually... Okay, so we're just trying to ensure victory by going as wide as possible then for Sonic, saying, all right, you're clearly not spending a lot of mana. I'm just going to slow play this, eventually play Brightsteel Protector, and then we save 3 spell mana going into the next turn anyway. So that feels pretty good. Oh, wow, yeah.
And, oh my god, the Prophecy. I said it.
Wow.
Dune Keeper, Faded Icon, but it's not enough.
No, I think we still... This Penitent Squire, even if that's the 1 attack that goes through, I think Nesh has... Now, okay, if there's a Vile Feast, we would be pretty good, I think.
Even in Surround doesn't even go for, like, Tattered Banner, because the Challenger from Tattered Banner is permanent, so you would just have another Challenger unit, but you can just open attack here, can't you? It's 4v5. And then again, you said, because you have the Ranger's Resolve against Vile Feast.
I think playing Cytheria is always better as, like, solidifying the game, because there isn't a punish for, like, Ruination or something like that.
Yeah, there's no Ruination punish, no Vengeance. Only certain variants, I think, run, like, 1 Vengeance. And even if Nasus comes down this round, you just pull him to the side with Fleet Feather Tracker anyway.
I'm not sure why we didn't play the Tattered Banner,
and you honestly, by playing Cytheria, you take away 3 blockers from the opponent.
Yeah.
Because none of these can block Fearsome.
Yeah, I feel like... Are we, like, trying to represent Golden Aegis mana by not playing the Tattered Banner? Like, I feel like that's not needed. You might as well just pull the last Fearsome blocker with Cytheria, right?
It's honestly a really funny card, because Tattered Banner is so strong, but at the same time, like... People just shy away from paying that 1 mana premium on their units.
Premium. Listen to you, premium. Jesus, I know 1 mana. God, how dare the card charge 1 mana for an effect? Jesus.
I know.
Oh man, there it is. There's that Misfortune level that usually
Premium
spells disaster.
Vintage Distressed Banner.
Premium Vintage Distressed Banner. Oh man, that's a lot. Last time I checked, that's a lot of damage coming in. That's a lot.
That's some green numbers.
And there's the Shenimo.
SonikHolik taking game 3 with Scouts versus the Meta Menace, Nasus Thresh.
The Meta Menace. Is that what we're dubbing this now? The Meta with the alliteration again? Meta Menace. All right. I'm liking it.
Extra, read all about it. Buff Bannerman board bonks the Meta Menace.
Using those bees again from yesterday. I like where this is headed. Scarzig. All right, cool.
But again, the SonikHolik made that game look very contained, very in control the entire time, but there was no attack token on 3, no Blighted Caretaker, no Black Spear. The key tools you need to stop that advantage from being built up against you just were not present on Nesh's side. Very unfortunate to see, but I mean, when you look at all of the games of that Nasus Thresh deck over even the course of yesterday, the Blighted Caretaker on 3 was guaranteed. It happened, I think, every single game. And, you know, the variance does still need to come into the situation. No matter how strong a deck is, you can still draw very poorly.
Well, we do have Pinpingo going up against their opponent still in the semifinals, Tomas, and they are still playing. So I do want to go ahead and get us into that game, thanks to
wonderful Pinpingo. We were informed yesterday, actually a bit of a strong Hearthstone player who made the switch, and I think did place very highly in some early tournaments. I think I recall some of the Riot Invitationals that they were doing way back in the day. And going against Tomas, who was one of the undefeated players from yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Was there two, or was Tomas the only one? Hold on. It looks like Tomas was the only one.
The C seasonal. That's what it was. Yeah, that's the name.
Yep, and for those of you Hearthstone players that are watching, Pinpingo made the correct decision switching over here. So just gonna throw that tidbit out of there. And I used to play Hearthstone as well. This game is amazing. So, but yeah, we got Nasus again, baby. We're seeing actually a mirror match now, which we haven't seen most of the day. Actually, I don't even know if we saw a mirror match yesterday during day one. Scarzig.
That's so unfortunate. The Siphoning Strike goes through, but because of the debuff of Pinpingo's already leveled Nasus, -1 attack, Tomas's Nasus does not level.
Nope. Yeah, the Siphoning Strike, kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy there for Nasus, so definitely good for Pinpingo, able to draw the second Nasus there, get that Siphoning Strike off, and I mean, gotta give advantage to Pinpingo. Now, I will say, though, there is no... Wait, is that a... Okay, wow, that just confused the heck out of me. I totally forgot that... So, Pinpingo is on the SEA server. So, for anybody watching, wondering what the heck that 6-mana card is there in Pinpingo's hand, that is, in fact, Atrocity. It has a different picture on the SEA server than it does in the NA server. I think there's a few different Shadow Isles cards and Noxus cards that are like that, so... I like that picture, by the way.
Some cleaning up, so it's not a lot of skulls. And for Atrocity, they focus on the tip of the halberd.
Yep.
But I mean, it's still beautiful art. And
I like this one better, personally.
Yeah, I wish we could get a toggle for some cards, to be honest. I think that'd be really cool. Riot, if you're listening.
The Noxus cards look sick. The ones that they redo for Noxus, but yeah.
Everybody likes purple rain Vladimir.
Yeah. Oh god.
But now you gotta find something to sacrifice to the Nasus. This is the thing, right? It's like, oh no, I don't have Spell Shield, but I have Fearsome. Whatever you block Nasus with is going to be a substantial unit. Something you would rather save to threaten or value trade something else. With a wider swing, we could even feed into this this Thresh too.
Yeah, and this is... Oh, man. Okay, so there was a donation made. I need to do something, Scarzig. This happens when we cast. I have a command that if they donate, and Morph did it, so I need to, just... I know Boulevard takes his headphones off usually when I do this, so it's up to you. You can choose, but, Morp Dorp! Yes! Yes! Alright, we got Scarzig to join in. That makes me feel good. That makes me... I like saying that,
I wasn't sure what was happening. I jumped in at the end.
No, all for it, man. We got everybody on that Morpadorp bandwagon there. Oh, man. So, yeah, this is interesting. This Nasus is now going to equal in size of Pinpingo's Nasus, and if we didn't block there, we would actually be within range of Atrocity for Tomas actually killing Pinpingo. So right now we're still kind of even when everything's said and done. And actually Pinpingo's Nasus is going to grow a little bit more, 2 more to be precise, thanks to this Black Spear. It's picking off this Thresh here, which is actually a big deal because that was one of the advantages Tomas kind of had going for him here.
Honestly, like this late into the game, both players are still at pretty much maximum HP. And so the defense has been superb on both sides to get to this point, and now it's just a race to the top. Which Nasus can get big enough first? Who has Atrocity? Who has 2 copies of Atrocity? Who has the attack token? So many factors already going in here, and Pinpingo with the leveled up Nasus, these bugs is nasty.
That's such a it's such a cool visual. Like no other effect really has that like pronounced of a visual, I think, right, Scarzig? Like I really like that.
I know, yeah, like the little cockroaches, the
Yeah.
scarabs.
Yeah.
This is nasty.
It's really putting us in the desert there, the Shuriman
I know,
desert.
PPO's got to call the health inspector.
Okay. So actually, good question, Sonic in chat. It is not 0-0. We came in late. I'm not sure what the score is. If anybody knows, definitely let me know. I'll update the score. It could very well be 1-1 with how long the game has been going. But yeah, I usually just put 0-0 when we are unaware currently of what the update is.
And there's another interesting line of play potentially happening here where, you know, Pingo kind of wants to attack because you need to get some slays, but then slays are also helping out your opponent to grow their Nasus. Having, honestly, the spell shield's been popped, if I'm not mistaken, on Pingo's Nasus. So as long as Tomas can get a couple more slays to grow theirs, there is maybe potential for a counter atrocity play. Even if you're behind, as long as you have enough to stop, you know what I mean, to reach up into that 10 HP pool.
Yeah.
So both players now essentially holding each other hostage.
Yeah, it's such a like interesting stare down. I mean, and this really benefits so far Pingo just having the bigger Nasus, but like you said, you know, the spell shield is already popped. That is going to come into play here. I don't know actually. I mean, I guess at that point, if you try to Atrocity your Nasus, it just forces your opponent to Atrocity their Nasus to kill your Nasus. Like if it got to that point where yours hit 20 before theirs. Because I'm trying to think, like, what other responses could Tomas actually have here against just the I guess Rite of Negation, of course. But you're never really. I mean, Jesus, do we just get a stare down until the end, until people are like about to deck out and we go below 4 mana for Rite of Negation? Like this could go on for a while, Scarzig.
I mean, I've seen it before with the old Atrocity, Feel the Rush, Mirrors, and the Rite of Negation becomes so important. But Thresh is going to be the wild card factor in this situation because now Pingo is a little bit less incentivized to slay his own units, to go for attacks, to feed into this Thresh, because then it gives Tomas a chance to maybe get double Nasus in play. You just have 2 massive attackers coming through.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab the deck list quick because I'm really curious. I have seen some Thresh Nasus decks only running like 1 Rite of Negation. I know most are running 2. But if that's the case and somebody's here, so it looks like Tomas is running the 2. Okay, so they're both running 2 Rites of Negation. Otherwise, there's really no other responses that we'd have here for the Atrocity. So this is just going to be a stare down for quite some time here, back and forth of who's basically going to get the bigger Nasus with a spell shield first. And I mean, it very well might be Tomas. It might be good that Tomas hasn't leveled the Nasus yet.
So I like that. So the trade being put through here, both Nasuses would potentially just go down.
Yep. Wow.
What's important there is it kind of resets the state here, and it keeps that Nasus from leveling up. You don't have to worry about your board being debuffed. You're preventing that spell shield. And with Spirit Leech, you have a higher chance of just fishing through to get your Nasus to develop here.
Well, there's a Thresh hitting the board, so we'll see if it's able to actually survive long enough to get a Nasus. It is at 8 health. We already see 1 Black Spear in hand. I'm not sure how many Black Spears were played yet from Pingo. I think we did see 1 to kill off the last Nasus. Or, sorry, Thresh. Yeah, this is very, very, very interesting, I guess, to say the least, this mirror match here. So at this point, I mean, if you get your Nasus down first, I guess now, because they're both leveled now, right? Or actually, sorry, Tomas is not because it traded.
Yeah, because it traded into the one to prevent it from leveling.
Yeah.
Pingo, I guess, is saying, if I just chunk block this Nasus, it levels up, it gets Spell Shield. I don't have a clean way to... I'd have to use a Black Spear here, you know, to pop the Spell Shield. And outside of that, I don't have a clean way to... you know, properly interact with something like that, or at least I don't feel safe doing so. He's still in a situation where this Thresh still needs to be activated, though. Still needs to be dealt with.
So I'm just thinking though, right? So it's basically going to come down to right now, anyways, because Atrocity is really negligible because everybody's going to save a red and negation for the Atrocities. I will say Pinpingo on the 2 Atrocity. We have Tomas on the 2 Atrocity as well. So both players, literally, theoretically, both players have 1 red of negation for each Atrocity. So either 2 things I think are going to happen. I think either one player is going to draw 2 red of negation and 1 Atrocity and just try to go for it, or 2 Atrocity, I should say. Try to go for it back-to-back turns outside of their opponent having 2 red of negation, or the first person to get a Nasus down just keeps attacking with it while the other opponent does not have Nasus, and it has to get chump blocked because it's going to do way too much damage, and eventually it just starts to take over the game. Right now, both players don't have a Nasus, so they're just staring each other down for a little while. But I do think Tomas, with this Thresh is definitely going to be able to do a little bit of work here and get that Nasus out of the deck, so...
And this isn't the sort of situation where one player is, really ahead in Nexus health either, where sacrificing Nasus, just both players, like when you're playing chess and you trade queens, you want to take away a powerful piece from your opponent, and you're sacrificing a powerful piece as well because you have material advantage elsewhere. Both players are very, very even. Full boards of blockers, and now Tomas with the leveled Thresh is just looking to reestablish that advantage of bringing the Nasus back.
Yeah, and I think, from the looks of it, there is no way for Pinpingo to actually deal with the Thresh on board. So it's looking like this is going to be a pretty clean, just Nasus coming out, hitting hard here for Tomas. Once Thresh is able to pull off an attack. And I do think now this is going to swing the game heavily in Tomas's favor here, as the Nasus, the Susan, whatever you'd like to call it, is going to have to continue to get chump blocked by all of these units on Pinpingo's field.
Because the board is so full, you can't set up your Dune Keepers, your Fading Icon, your Blighted Caretakers the way you want. And with this Nasus coming into play and needing to be blocked, it's going to level. Then you have the reverse, where suddenly Ping's board is debuffed, so it's harder to block Fearsome for the rest of the round.
Yeah, and I know, so a lot of people, I know Morpin Chat is kind of talking about that trade too. I mean, I think the issue there with that trade, because I agree, like, you can't really trade away your Nasus without knowing you have another one. The problem, I think, for Pingo was the fact that it was going to level, and if you let it hit face, now obviously you're just at a severe disadvantage because Atrocity will just eventually kill you, right? So, or just unit hits for that matter. So I do think Tomas played it and put Pingo in a position where they had to trade it away, or they were in a worse spot. So it was really just, it was a lose-lose situation, right? Where either you trade it away or you don't, and you're in a worse spot because now I have a leveled Nasus to you're leveled without a spell shield. So I do think you kind of were forced into doing that, but this is going to be a big boy now. Nasus coming out. I'm curious to see if Tomas has the double Atrocity in hand already, because if that's the case, we do only see one red negation in Pingo's hand. Yeah,
it's rough. And to be fair, the this mirror match can play out in a lot of different ways where one side maybe gets a massive advantage. Who knows if this might be one of the first times that Pingo has been put in a situation with this specific mirror match.
We have the double
players.
We got the double. I think we got the double Atrocity. Sorry to interrupt you. I just I saw it come out and I'm like, let's go. We got it. Like, there's no way. There's not a world where we don't have double Atrocity here, though, right, Scarzig?
Yeah, I mean, you pull the trigger on the first one just to try to end the game before Pingo maybe pulls out his.
Okay, so we're gonna see if we get another commitment. Oh, come on! If we don't have the second Atrocity, I'm gonna feel so sad here. I mean, there's no way. I mean, because now we don't have... Pingo doesn't have anything that we can respond to Atrocity to actually threaten Tomas. If we have another Atrocity, Tomas has to play it here. And knowing that there's no red negation, I mean, like, this is the window, I feel, for Tomas. Like, we have to go ahead and just rip it here.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds of second right? If you get the other right out, if you expend your other atrocity, then you just really need this Nasus to connect with the Nexus. The only things right now, especially with the debuff that can block, are going to be things like Thresh or things like another Nasus coming out of the deck from Pimpingo. And it looks like that is going to be the case. Second atrocity
Hey, we got it. We got it, baby. That's gonna do it. Tomas with the double atro. I knew it was there, Scarzig. I knew it was there. We were just, yeah, exactly. More, just rip it, baby. Just when you got double atro. Babe, is that a Babe? Was that a Beyblade reference? Was that a Beyblade reference?
Of course it was.
I missed that show, but yeah, actually, I think there's new Beyblades. That's actually 1-1, by the way, now. So, there's a new Beyblade out that I saw on like Netflix. I don't know if it's good or not, but probably not as nostalgic as the original. To be honest with you.
So now we've got Nasus Thrush going up against Discard Aggro. Both decks with very explosive openings. But Discard Aggro, no way to get rid of Nasus or Thresh efficiently, but has tons of burn. The only response that this deck does have is some Vile Feasts, and I don't believe, he just looked at the list, no Withering Whales, if I'm not mistaken.
So in, what is it, Pippingo's side? So we have one Withering Whale. One Withering Whale, 3 Vile Feasts. So that's kind of going to be the cards to look out for. And then obviously the Bloody Caretakers will probably be able to do a lot of work as well. And 3 Dune Keepers.
But Tomas being blessed with the attack token on round 3, going to set up a nice Draven perhaps. And Dune Keeper, fantastic response against the Legion Rearguard, I think.
Yeah, this is, I mean, this feels like a really good blocker here for, oh, do we trade the Dune Keeper or?
You take 3 damage and then, yeah, you can chump block it, you leave it alive.
Set up the Vile
Feast. Close, because you get to open attack for 2 damage, you have the Vile Feast to finish. You're leaving Tomas with 1 more unit in play to maybe buff up a crowd favorite.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's close. It's very close.
Yeah, I mean, this does allow you to push through a little bit of damage on the open attack, too. I don't know how important that's going to be in this matchup, because I do think that on the side of the Nasus player, you are still on the back foot slightly here. Like, especially seeing no Bloody Caretaker in your first hand, that's a little bit concerning, because you won't be able to proactively deal with Tomas's, what will probably be a wide board coming up here.
Yeah, there wasn't anything like Zonite Urchin with Flame Chompers or Jury Rig. This is a pretty tame opening, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, Vile Feast feels okay, right? I mean, it allowed us to set up kind of that Doom Keeper, Sand Soldier, chump block into the Vile Feast, which also gives us another blocker, which feels really good. Fading Icon's also really nice as a 3 attack unit to take down something that might be attacking here, but Draven, I mean, that's the dream. This is the dream for Discard, right? 1, 2, 3. You got Draven on 3. That's what you want to see, baby. That feels really good for Tomas.
And so now Vile Feast to clean that up. Very nicely navigated there through the early game. Still ahead on 2 damage. And look at this. Draven just attacking now to maybe force a chump block. And by keeping the House Spiders alive, you know, maybe you're thinking, okay, is there vision? Probably a crowd favorite in hand. To take advantage of these bodies. Also maintaining blockers potentially against Blighted Caretaker.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta throw a chump blocker in front of this. You can't take this damage, but you got plenty of chump blockers to spare for the time being. I think the only downside here, I think, for Pimpingo is that, oh wow, we're actually not gonna. Okay, we're gonna take the damage now. All right, so I mean, this does put Vile Feast online to actually heal us if we do need to utilize it. Oh, that is a good top deck as well. I don't know if we're going to be able to really utilize it this turn. We would be able to take down Draven in conjunction with the Vile Feast, which feels really good. And maybe this is why we didn't chump block. We can use the units better to our advantage than just trying to save HP here versus the discard aggro.
Yeah, it's definitely all in discard aggro's, court to try to get a massive advantage and end the game here. because crowd favorite is so important to maybe punch through these 1 HP targets. You're going to need to get that set up and then maybe curve perfectly into Jinx. There's 2 axes right now in the hand to help out with this Draven, and clear. It's very tough to say what Tomas's hand is because the curve was just pretty standard. There really wasn't a lot of indication one way or the other. Again, holding back the house spiders, not wanting to clear the board, maybe indicates crowd favorite. Another rear guard, not what you want to see on this turn.
No, but this is a lot of great trades here for Pimpingo. And do we just like send it? Do we? All right, no, we're not. We're not sending it with the rest of the followers on board here. Not opting to worry about this Draven though. I don't know if I love that, just because I feel like Draven just always gets so much work done in so many different matchups, and that was kind of our opportunity for the time being. We do have Thresh going into turn 6, so maybe that's what Pimpingo is thinking going into the next attack turn. Okay, we have Thresh. That will be able to pick off Draven, but might get a little punished now with this Arena Battlecaster. It's looking rough. Oh, there it is.
And there's the crowd favorite fitting snugly into the 6th slot of the board.
That's where he loves to be, Scarzig. That's where he loves to be. Oh, man. It's like, you can predict. Why does this always happen? Like, why? You know, people always say, like, discard aggro can win almost any game just high rolling. Well, let me tell you, I feel like it's always high rolling when I watch this deck. Like,
it's gotten optimized, I think, to the point where this is just what it does. The high roll, it's just a placebo. It's God. Ointment that you rub on your burns after this happens to you.
I see what you did there. Burns, and it's a burn deck. I see what you did there.
Yeah, so now we've got potential for double axe on Draven, to depending on what's in the hand right now. If this is like double vision, Tomas has been blessed.
That's crazy. Wow. And it's interesting too. So Tomas, by the way, is running this discard aggro alongside not Draven Jinx, Spider aggro and Thresh Nasus. So you could argue it's not necessarily a triple aggro lineup, but Thresh Nasus can be aggressive, like we've seen. Like we were just talking about earlier, how that seems to be the primary way that it's winning games with that aggressive start. So aggro decks, once again, just having a really good showing, even with such a prominent representation of TLC and some of those other heavy control decks, and Demacia Targon as well in the top cut, you know?
So Vile Feast on the Dune Keeper. And what this does is it clears this unit, you heal for 1, but it also keeps Draven from generating more axes, potentially leveling.
Yeah, this is a big swing though. This is I gotta agree with Rob's in chat. This is a vision if I've ever seen one. This is one of the higher value visions that you're gonna get. It feels really good if we did have one in hand here, but this is at least pushing. I mean, this is 8 damage. This is a lot happening here. This is gonna also, though, because Tomas pushing such a big attack, Thresh gonna level here, like just all in one shot. Thresh has 0 procs, 0 souls, just straight leveling up. That means Nasus hitting the board next turn, and I'm not gonna lie, is Nasus like already at 10? It feels like Nasus is already really big.
That I know. He's at least +6/+6.
Yeah, we know that. Jesus.
So I guess you glimpse. I mean, you feast the Flame Chompers post combat here to get +1/+1 onto your Nasus again.
Yeah, why not? And then you have a pretty good pull onto Draven. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to deal with this Besiege, but I guess if Nasus is, as long as Nasus is a 9/9, I guess. Here's the problem though. I don't think Tomas is worried about Nasus actually hitting and striking. I mean, obviously, if we have Nasus and we top deck an Atrocity right here or the next turn, then that's going to be a problem. But I think you just take the damage and you just try to go for the win next turn on the side of Tomas, especially if we have like a Jinx for a Rocket or something. And what do we got? It's a 10-10. It is already a 10-10 thanks to the Vile Feast. It's leveling up. Wow.
So now you cash in your entire hand to get rid of these axes, to buff up Besiege.
Oh my god. I mean, hey, yeah.
Trade into the Susan. Or honestly, you're right. You just go down to 8 and say play against Atrocity. But see, the problem though is that he's a shrimpy boy now. He can't swing through with this overwhelm.
Unless you have, you know, flame chompers or something. If we get another challenger that comes down, like I don't know what Tomas's hand looks like, that's definitely a consideration. There is also the consideration to go ahead and trade with the Thresh here with the spinning axes, but no, we're not going to get it. That leads me to believe that we possibly have some discard fodder in hand to go alongside of something like a Augmented or a Jinx. But I don't know. It's a little scary.
If you get an axe from the strike, I think you could get away with just axing away an axe there.
Axing away an axe. It feels like such an odd statement. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So we'll see what those two cards are in Tomas's hand in a second.
Yeah, so Flame Chompers into pulling the Nasus to the side, forcing some damage through.
Oh boy.
Trying to live the dream here with another 3/3. That's not what you want to see.
And that leads me to believe there's no Flame Chompers or Jury Rigs or anything, because that obviously would have came down first before Visage actually hits the field. And this, to me, spells not good for Tomas. This, I'm not liking what I'm seeing here out of those two cards that are left in hand. We just got a lot of axes and really just nothing to do with them right now.
Yeah, it's like you need to hit. It's like you can get some very strong early mid games, but once you get to this position where your hand is mostly empty, this is where you need your Rummages, your Jinx, and your Augmented Experimenter to hit. And if you miss that timing, it's kind of like when you would play Frostbites and you miss out on that Trifarian Assessor at that key moment where you really need to reload, and the deck just feels terrible. And there's like 1-2 points of damage getting through here, maybe 4 if you do go for axes.
Wow. Yeah, and this is not looking good. I don't imagine. I mean, all right, if we go for the axes, Tomas, there's gotta, like, we're already on 3 unit mana. We can't even play Augmented.
There's a vision.
All right. What's the last card? What do we got? Oh, there's no. Okay, I was gonna say there's no way we ever trade up with this Visage, but that Nasus is just living for quite some time. I mean, that's gonna be 4 damage coming through. So Pigneo's gonna be at 6. I mean, listen, if there's a deck that can top deck Victory, well, it's actually both of these decks, but the like Atro could come off the top, but. I mean, Jinx coming down. The problem is I don't think actually after this turn, we don't have any blockers for this fearsome Nasus. That's just going to end the game. So that last unit has to be a fearsome blocker unless it's going to like just put us in a position to close out the game here.
Yeah, not having an answer to Nasus is just a really powerful indicator of what can really exist at these high levels of play. And look, even the Withering Whale, we had double Vile Feast earlier, and now Withering Whale off the top.
Oh my god, I was gonna say, did we just top deck the second Get Excited?
A little bit short. I really wonder what that card was in hand, that hidden card.